Zara 9 wiped the sweat from her 6 eyes as she crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel. The metal walls around her groaned and creaked in ways that made her 4 arms shake with worry. Something was very wrong with the mining station today. She had been working alone for 3 hours now, trying to fix the main power core before it exploded. The other Vulcan workers had already left this section when the first warning alarm started going off. But someone had to stay and fix the problem, or the whole station would be destroyed. As the youngest engineer, that someone was her. The Vulcans were not warriors. They were builders and miners and fixers of broken things. Her people had long, thin bodies that could fit into small spaces, and their 4 arms made them very good at working with complicated machines. But they were not strong, and they did not fight wars. They just wanted to dig valuable metals from asteroids and trade with other species in peace. Zara 9 reached the main power coupling and saw the problem right away. The connecting cables were melting from too much heat. If she did not fix them, in the next few minutes, the power core would overload and blow up half the station. She started working as fast as she could, using all 4 of her arms to disconnect the old cables and put in new ones. That was when she heard the loud crack. Above her head, she looked up and saw a long split running across the tunnel ceiling. Air started hissing out through the crack, which meant the tunnel was losing pressure. In space, losing pressure was very bad. It meant she would not be able to breathe soon. Zara 9 tried to work faster, but her hands were shaking now. The crack in the ceiling grew longer. More air rushed out. She could feel her breathing getting harder as the pressure dropped. Then the lights went out. In the darkness, she could hear metal tearing apart somewhere above her. The whole section was falling apart. She fumbled for her emergency light and turned it on. The small beam showed her that the tunnel walls were starting to bend inward. Soon they would crush her. She finished connecting the last cable and pressed the power button. The lights came back on, which meant the power core was working again. But it was too late for her. The tunnel was collapsing faster now. A big piece of metal fell down and blocked the way she had come in. She was trapped. Zara 9 pulled out her communication device and turned it to the emergency channel. She had to warn the other workers about what was happening, even if she could not escape herself. "This is Engineer Zara 9 in Maintenance Section 7, she said into the device. "The power core is fixed, but this section is collapsing. Stay away from areas 7 through 10. The structure is not safe." She waited for an answer, but heard only static. The damage must have broken the communication system too. No one would know what happened to her. More metal pieces fell around her. The air was getting very thin now. She could barely breathe. Zara 9 sat down in the small space that was left and tried to think of something else she could do. But there was nothing. The tunnel was too damaged for her to crawl out, and no one knew where she was. She decided to try one more thing. She changed her communication device to send out a distress signal on all frequencies, not just the ones her people used. Maybe someone else was out here in this empty part of space. It was not likely, but it was her only chance. "This is Engineer Zara 9 of the Vulcan mining station in the Kepler frontier," she said. "I am trapped in a collapsing structure. My air is running out. If anyone can hear this message, please help me." She sent the message again and again, but no one answered. Space was very big and very empty. The chances of someone being close enough to hear her signal were very small. The walls of the tunnel moved closer together. Zara 9 closed her 6 eyes and tried not to think about how scared she was. She thought instead about her family back on the home world, and about all the things she still wanted to build and fix. Then her communication device made a sound. Someone was answering her call. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the human cargo ship Wandering Star," a voice said. "We received your distress signal. What is your exact location?" Zara 9 could not believe it. Humans were here. She had heard about humans before, but had never met one. They were supposed to be very different from Vulcans. Bigger and stronger, with only 2 arms and 2 eyes. Some people said humans were dangerous and liked to fight. Others said they were traitors who traveled all over the galaxy. I am in maintenance. Tunnel 7 Alpha of the mining station, Zara-9 said quickly. The structure is collapsing. I cannot get out. We see your station on our sensors, Captain Chun said. It looks like you have some serious damage there. We are changing course to help you. Hold on. Wait, Zara-9 said. It is too dangerous. This whole section might explode. You should stay. Away. That is not how we do things, Captain Chun said. When someone needs help, we help them. That is what humans do. Zara-9 did not understand. Why would strangers risk their lives for someone they had never met? In her experience, most species only helped their own kind. But she did not have time to think about it more, because the tunnel was still collapsing around her. Through the thin walls, she could hear the sound of engines getting closer. The humans were really coming to save her. She just hoped they would be fast enough. 6 months had passed since the humans saved Zara-9 from the collapsing mining station. She thought about that day often, especially about Captain Chun and her crew. They had risked everything to pull her out of the twisted metal just minutes before the whole section exploded. When she asked them why they did it, Captain Chun had smiled and said something that stayed with Zara-9 forever. Humans look out for each other, and we consider our friends to be part of that circle. Now Zara-9 worked as chief engineer for the Vulcan Defense Corps. It was not a very big job because the Vulcans did not have much of a defense force. They had 12 ships that used to be mining vessels before someone put small weapons on them. The weapons were not very good, and the ships were slow, but they were all her people had. She was working late in the command center when the alarm started going off. The night shift officers were running around looking at their screens with worried faces. Something big was happening. What is wrong? Zara-9 asked Commander Vel-3, the leader of their small defense force. Ships, Commander Vel-3 said, his voice shaking. Many ships coming toward our system. More ships than we have ever seen. Zara-9 looked at the main screen and felt her blood turn cold. Hundreds of large warships were moving toward their home world of Ketha Prime. The ships were dark and had sharp edges that made them look like weapons themselves. She had seen pictures of ships like these before. The Hegemony, she whispered. The Hegemony was a group of alien species that loved war and conquering other worlds. They had already taken over 12 different species in the last few years. Everyone in the galaxy was afraid of them because they were strong and cruel. They would attack a world, destroy anyone who fought back, and then make the survivors work as slaves. Send a message to all our ships, Commander Vel-3 said. Tell them to come back to defend the home world. Sir, one of the officers said, all our ships together cannot fight even one of their big warships. We have 12 converted mining ships. They have what looks like 300 battle cruisers. Commander Vel-3 sat down heavily in his chair. Everyone in the room knew the officer was right. The Vulcan Defense Force was meant to stop pirates and small raiders, not a full invasion by the most powerful military force in the galaxy. The communication system made a sound. Someone from the Hegemony fleet wanted to talk. This is War Master Thekalan of the Hegemony First Fleet, a deep, angry voice said. I speak to the leaders of the Vulcan species. Commander Vel-3 pressed the button to answer. This is Commander Vel-3 of the Vulcan Defense Corps. Your defense corps is a joke, War Master Thekalan said with a laugh that sounded like metal scraping against metal. You have no real weapons and no real soldiers. We have come for your mining technology and your worlds. You will give us what we want. We are a peaceful people, Commander Vel-3 said. We do not want to fight anyone. But we will not give up our freedom. Then you will die, the War Master said. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. Give us all your mining technology, all your ships, and all your worlds. Your people will work for us now. If you refuse, we will destroy your cities from space until nothing is left." The communication ended. The command center was very quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. How could 12 small ships protect a whole world against 300 warships? "We need to evacuate the civilians," someone said. "There are 8 billion Vulcans on Ketha Prime," Commander Vel 3 said. "We cannot move that many people in 72 hours. We do not have enough ships." Zara 9 thought about her family living in the big city on the other side of the planet. She thought about all the children in schools and all the old people who could not travel far. Most of them would die if the hegemony attacked. "What about asking for help?" she said. "From who?" Commander Vel 3 asked. "The other species near us are too weak to fight the hegemony. The strong species are too far away, or they have already made deals with the hegemony to leave them alone." Zara 9 thought about Captain Chun and her words about humans looking out for their friends. But that was just one human ship with a small crew. Could humans really help against something as big as the hegemony? And why would they? Earth was very far from here, and humans had their own problems to worry about. But she remembered how Captain Chen had changed course to save one trapped engineer she had never met. She remembered how the human crew had crawled through dangerous wreckage to pull her out. They had risked their lives for a stranger just because it was the right thing to do. Maybe humans were different from other species. Maybe they really would help their friends. Zara 9 went to her workstation and started typing a message. She was not asking humans to come and fight for the Vulcans. She knew that would be too much to ask. She was just telling them what was happening. She wanted Captain Chun to know that the person she had saved was about to die, along with everyone else on Ketha Prime. "Dear Captain Chun and the crew of the Wandering Star," she wrote, "you saved my life 6 months ago when my mining station was collapsing. You told me that humans consider their friends to be part of their circle. I wanted you to know that in 3 days, the hegemony will attack my home world. We cannot stop them. 8 billion Vulcans will die, including me. I do not ask you to help us fight. I just wanted you to know that your friend will soon be gone. Thank you for showing me that there are good people in the universe. Goodbye." She sent the message toward Earth, even though she knew it would take many days to get there. The hegemony would attack long before any humans could receive her words. Outside the command center windows, she could see the hegemony warships taking positions around Ketha Prime. They looked like dark clouds blocking out the stars. In 72 hours, those ships would start shooting, and everything she had ever known would be destroyed. But at least she had tried to say goodbye to the humans who had been kind to her. Sometimes that was all someone could do. Admiral Rebecca Torres was drinking her morning coffee when the priority message arrived at Earth Strategic Command. She almost ignored it because hundreds of messages came in every day from ships all over human space. But this one was marked as personal communication to Captain Sarah Chun, and something about that caught her attention. Admiral Torres knew Captain Chun well. Sarah was one of the best cargo ship captains in the human fleet, and she had saved the Admiral's life during the Centauri Station attack 5 years ago. If someone was sending personal messages to Sarah through military channels, it must be important. She opened the message and started reading. The words were simple, but they hit her like a punch to the stomach. The alien engineer that Sarah had saved 6 months ago was about to die. Not just her, but 8 billion of her people. A species called the hegemony was going to wipe out an entire world of peaceful aliens called Vulcans. Admiral Torres set down her coffee cup and read the message again. Then she called up the files about Captain Chun's rescue mission in the Kepler frontier. She had barely paid attention to it at the time because saving one trapped alien seemed like a small thing compared to the big problems Earth was facing now. She realized it might be the most important thing that had happened all year. Admiral Torres knew about the hegemony. Human intelligence had been watching them for 2 years as they conquered one species after another. The hegemony was a group of alien races that believed the strong should rule the weak. They had powerful warships and millions of soldiers, and they took whatever they wanted. What worried Admiral Torres most was that human space was next on their list. Intelligence reports said the hegemony planned to attack human colonies after they finished conquering the smaller species. Earth's military leaders had been trying to figure out how to fight them, but the hegemony was very strong and Earth's fleet was spread out protecting dozens of human worlds. She picked up her communication device and called an emergency meeting of the Human Colonial Defense Council. Within an hour, the most important military leaders in human space were connected by quantum link from ships and bases across the galaxy. "We have a situation," Admiral Torres said when everyone was connected. "The hegemony is about to attack a species called the Vulcans. They have 72 hours to surrender or face complete destruction." "Admiral," said General Martinez from the Mars Defense Station, "we have been tracking hegemony movements for months. They have conquered 12 species already. Why is this one different?" Admiral Torres told them about Zara 9 and Captain Chen. She explained how one human ship had saved one alien engineer, and how that alien was now asking for nothing except to say goodbye. "She's not even asking us to help fight," Admiral Torres said. "She just wants us to know that our friend is going to die." The council was quiet for a long moment. Then Captain Chun herself joined the meeting from her cargo ship. "Admirals and generals," Captain Chun said, "I want to tell you about Zara 9. She is brave and smart and kind. When I pulled her out of that collapsing station, she was more worried about warning other people than saving herself. The Vulcans are good people. They do not hurt anyone. They just want to mine asteroids and build things and live in peace." "Captain Chun," said Admiral Park from the Jupiter fleet, "we all respect what you did. But we cannot fight the entire hegemony to save one species. We have to protect Earth and our own colonies." "Actually," Admiral Torres said, "I think we can do both." She brought up a star map on the main screen. It showed human space, hegemony space, and the location of the Vulcan home world. "Look at this," she said. "The hegemony has been picking off isolated species one by one. They attack the weak while avoiding the strong. But what if we show them that attacking peaceful species means fighting us too? You want to use the Vulcans as bait?" General Rodriguez asked. "No," Admiral Torres said. "I want to use them as an example. If we save the Vulcans, other species will know they can count on human protection. The hegemony will have to fight all of us together instead of conquering us one at a time." The debate went on for 3 hours. Some council members thought it was too risky. Earth's fleet was already stretched thin. Fighting the hegemony now instead of later might be a mistake, but others agreed with Admiral Torres. The hegemony was going to attack human space eventually. Better to fight them now while they could choose the time and place. Finally, Captain Chun spoke again. "Admirals and generals," she said, "I know this is about military strategy and protecting human interests. But it is also about who we are as a species. When someone helps us, we help them back. When someone needs protection, we protect them. That is what makes us human." The vote was close, but Admiral Torres won. The Human Colonial Defense Council agreed to send a fleet to save the Vulcans. "How many ships?" Admiral Torres asked. "Everything we can spare," General Martinez said. "If we are going to do this, we need to make sure the hegemony never forgets it." Admiral Torres smiled. "Then we will give them something to remember. Send orders to every fleet commander in human space. I want every ship that can fly and fight to meet at the rally point near Vulcan space. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, carriers, everything." "Admiral," Captain Chun asked, How many ships will that be? Admiral Torres looked at the fleet deployment charts on her screen. The numbers made her smile bigger. 12,000 ships, she said. The largest human fleet in history. Captain Chun was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Zara-9 saved herself by fixing that power core. She warned others about the danger even when she thought she was going to die. She deserves to know that humans keep their promises. She will know, Admiral Torres said. The whole galaxy will know. When you help one human, you get all of us. The orders went out immediately. Across human space, warships started moving toward a single destination. Battleship captains changed course from patrol routes. Carrier groups left their defensive positions. Destroyer squadrons abandoned training exercises. For the first time in human history, almost the entire space fleet was coming together for one battle. Not to conquer or to take territory, but to protect a friend. Admiral Torres looked at the message from Zara-9 one more time. The young Vulcan engineer thought she was saying goodbye. Instead, she was about to learn what happened when someone became family to humanity. Zara-9 had not slept in 2 days. Only 6 hours remained before the hegemony ultimatum would end, and then the shooting would start. She sat in the command center watching the screens that showed enemy ships all around Kepha Prime. 300. Dark warships waited like hungry predators, ready to attack her homeworld. The Vulcan Defense Corps had tried everything they could think of. They had sent messages asking for help to every species within 50 light years. Most did not answer. The few that did answer said they were sorry, but they could not fight the hegemony. Everyone was too afraid. Commander Vel 3 looked terrible. He had been awake even longer than Zara-9, trying to find some way to save their people. But 12 small ships could not protect a planet from 300 warships. It was impossible. Maybe we should surrender, one of the officers said quietly. At least some of our people would live as slaves. That is better than everyone dying. The hegemony does not keep promises, Commander Vel 3 said. They will kill anyone who might cause trouble later. That means all the engineers, all the scientists, all the leaders. They will keep only the ones who can do simple work. Zara-9 knew he was right. She had studied reports from the 12 species the hegemony had already conquered. In every case, they had killed the smart people and kept only workers. A species that surrendered to the hegemony would slowly disappear as their culture and knowledge were destroyed. The sensor operator at the far end of the room suddenly sat up straight. Commander, she said, I am reading something strange at the edge of the system. What kind of strange? Commander Vel 3 asked. Space distortions, very large ones. Like something big is about to come out of hyperspace. Everyone in the command center turned to look at the main screen. The sensor operator put the readings up for everyone to see. Whatever was coming was huge. Much bigger than the hegemony ships. More hegemony forces, Commander Vel 3 said sadly. They want to make sure we cannot escape. But Zara-9 was looking at the sensor readings more carefully. The distortions were different from what hegemony ships made when they jumped out of hyperspace. The pattern was wrong. These looked more like the readings she had seen when human ships used their hyperspace drives. Wait, she said. I think those might be. The space at the edge of the system exploded with light. Ship after ship dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. But these were not the dark, sharp-edged ships of the hegemony. These ships were sleek and silver with blue lights running along their sides. Even from far away, they looked fast and dangerous. The sensor operator's voice was shaking as she read the numbers. 1,000 ships, 2,000, 5,000. She stopped counting and just stared at the screen. Commander, there are 12,000 ships out there. Zara-9 felt her heart stop beating. 12,000 ships was more than the entire hegemony fleet. It was the largest space fleet anyone had ever seen. Who are they? Commander Vel 3 asked. The answer came over the communication system. A voice that Zara 9 recognized immediately. Vulcan Defense Corps, this is Captain Sarah Chun. Of the human ship Wandering Star, we received your message. Zara 9 started crying. She could not help it. Captain Chun had come back, but she had not come alone. She had brought the entire human space fleet with her. Captain Chun, Commander Vel 3 said, we are very happy to hear from you. But the hegemony has 300 warships. You should stay away. It is too dangerous. Commander, Captain Chun said, we did not come here to stay away. We came here to help our friends. On the main screen, the human fleet was moving into attack formation. Zara 9 had never seen anything like it. The ships moved like they were dancing, each one knowing exactly where to go. Small fighter ships flew between the big warships like schools of fish. Everything was perfectly organized. At the center of the fleet was the biggest ship Zara 9 had ever seen. It was 5 times larger than the biggest hegemony battleship, and its weapons could probably destroy a small moon. The hegemony fleet was moving too. Warmaster Thekalan was forming his ships into battle lines, but Zara 9 could tell he was confused. His intelligence reports had said humans were new to space war and did not have many ships. Now he was looking at a fleet 4 times larger than his own. The communication system crackled again. This time it was a different human voice, older and more formal. This is Admiral Rebecca Torres of the Human Colonial Defense Fleet. I am speaking to Warmaster Thekalan of the hegemony. There was a long pause before the Warmaster answered. When he did, his voice did not sound as confident as before. Human. Admiral, he said, your intelligence about our movements is impressive, but this does not concern your species. We have business with the Vulcans. The Vulcans are our friends, Admiral Torres said. When you threaten them, you threaten us. You have 1 hour to withdraw all your ships from this system. Warmaster Thekalan laughed, but it sounded forced. You cannot be serious. You would start a war between our species over these worthless insects? The Vulcans are not worthless, Admiral Torres said. One of them helped one of us. That makes them family. And humans always protect family. Zara 9 was still crying, but now she was smiling too. Captain Chun had said almost the same words 6 months ago when she pulled Zara 9 out of the collapsing mining station. You have 59 minutes, Admiral Torres said. The hegemony fleet started moving into a better attack position. Warmaster Thekalan was not going to back down. He probably thought the humans were bluffing, or that his warriors were better fighters than human crews. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Zara 9 watched the 2 fleets face each other in the space around her home world. The hegemony ships looked dark and threatening, but the human ships looked like they were made of starlight. She thought about the message she had sent to Captain Chun, expecting it to be a goodbye. Instead, it had brought the largest rescue force in the history of the galaxy. Captain Chun, she said into her communication device, thank you for coming. Zara 9. Captain Chun's voice came back, warm and friendly. We told you that humans look out for their friends. We meant it. The hour was almost up. Soon the shooting would start, and Zara 9 would see what happened when someone threatened a friend of humanity. The hour passed like a single heartbeat. Warmaster Thekalan did not move his ships away from Ketha Prime. Instead, he moved them closer, forming attack lines aimed at the planet's cities. He was calling the humans bluff. He was about to learn that humans do not bluff when it comes to protecting their friends. Time is up, Admiral Torres announced on all communication channels. You have chosen war over peace, so be it. What happened next would be talked about in every corner of the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. The human fleet moved like a living thing. Small fighter ships poured out of the big carrier vessels like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. The fighters were so fast that hegemony sensors could barely track them. They swarmed around the enemy ships, shooting at weapons and engines with perfect accuracy. The human capital ships opened fire at the same time. Beams of pure energy crossed space in seconds, hitting hegemony warships before they could react. The weapons were much more powerful than anyone had expected. Ships that had taken years to build were destroyed in minutes, but what shocked the hegemony most was not how hard the humans fought. It was how they fought. When a hegemony ship was crippled and could not fight anymore, human rescue ships immediately flew to help the survivors. Even in the middle of battle, human crews were pulling enemy soldiers out of damaged ships and giving them medical treatment. War Master the Kalan could not understand it. Why would an enemy save the lives of warriors who had been trying to kill them just moments before? In hegemony culture, defeated enemies were left to die or enslaved. But the humans treated wounded hegemony soldiers the same way they treated their own wounded. This confused the hegemony crews, so much that many of them stopped fighting to watch the rescues happening around them. They had never seen anything like it before. Zara 9 watched the battle from the command center on Ketha Prime. The human ships moved with incredible skill and coordination. Every pilot seemed to know exactly what every other pilot was doing. When one ship was damaged, 2 others would immediately move to protect it. When the enemy concentrated fire on one area, human ships would appear from a different direction to attack the enemy's weak spots. The battle was not even close. The hegemony had more experience in war, but the humans had better ships, better tactics, and something else that made all the difference. They were not fighting for conquest or glory. They were fighting to protect their friends. Within 6 hours, half the hegemony fleet was destroyed or surrendering. The other half was trying to escape, but human ships were faster. Very few enemy vessels made it to hyperspace. War Master the Kalan's flagship was burning and drifting without power. Admiral Torres' ship, the massive battleship Righteous Fury, moved alongside it. Instead of destroying the helpless enemy vessel, the humans sent over rescue teams. War Master the Kalan, Admiral Torres said over the communication system, "Your ship is dying and your fleet is defeated. Surrender now, and we will save the lives of your crew." The Kalan was quiet for a long time. His species had been warriors for 1,000 years. They had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved millions of people. Now they had been beaten by aliens who spent as much effort saving enemy lives as they did winning battles. "Why?" he finally asked. "Why do you save the lives of those who tried to kill you?" "Because that is who we are," Admiral Torres said. "We fight when we have to, but we do not enjoy causing death. When the fighting stops, everyone deserves a chance to live." The Kalan thought about all the species his people had destroyed. None of them had ever been given mercy after defeat. The hegemony way was to kill or enslave everyone who opposed them. But these humans were different. They were stronger than the hegemony, but they chose to be kind. "I surrender," he said quietly. The Battle of Ketha Prime was over. The hegemony's expansion across the galaxy had been stopped by 12,000 human warships and the crews who operated them. 3 days later, Zara 9 stood on the bridge of the Righteous Fury next to Admiral Torres and Captain Chun. Through the main window, she could see human and Vulcan ships working together to repair the damage from the battle. Already, human engineers were sharing their technology with Vulcan engineers, and Vulcan designers were helping humans build better mining equipment. "I still do not understand," Zara 9 said to Captain Chun. "Why did your people risk so much for us? You barely knew we existed 6 months ago." Captain Chun smiled the same warm smile she had shown when she first rescued Zara 9 from the collapsing mining station. "You helped one of us when we were in trouble," she said. "That made you family, and humans always protect family." Admiral Torres was looking at reports from across the galaxy. News of the human victory had traveled fast. Dozens of species that had been hiding from the hegemony were now sending messages asking if they could join the alliance between humans and Vulcans. "Looks like we started something big," Admiral Torres said. "Half the galaxy wants to be friends with us now." "That is good," Zara-9 said. "Together we can protect each other from bullies like the hegemony." Captain Chun nodded. "That is the plan. No more picking off weak species one by one. From now on, attacking one of us means fighting all of us." 6 months later, the Ketha Accords were signed by 47 different species. It was the first alliance in galactic history based on friendship and mutual protection instead of fear and conquest. The hegemony still existed, but they no longer expanded into new territory. They were too afraid of what would happen if they attacked a world that had human friends. Zara-9 returned to her work as an engineer, but now she designed ships that combined Vulcan creativity with human military technology. The new vessels were fast, powerful, and beautiful. They carried crews from many different species who all worked together toward the same goal. Sometimes, late at night, Zara-9 would look up at the stars and think about how everything had changed. 6 months ago, she had been trapped and dying in a collapsed tunnel, sending out a desperate plea for help. That one moment had led to the largest space battle in history and the formation of an alliance that would protect billions of lives. She had learned something important about humans. That day in the tunnel, and the lesson had changed the galaxy forever. When you help one human, you do not just make one friend. You become part of their family. And human families protect each other, no matter how far they have to travel or how many ships they have to send. The galaxy was a safer place because one human captain had decided to risk her life to save one trapped alien engineer. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness have the biggest consequences.